Can make it for the 25th State Senate and the 75th State Assembly. I just have a couple of quick announcements. I want to put in a little plug for the Friends of the Library. We are in a new library building campaign right now. And I've got some raffle tickets. Actually, I still have to set them out. We're going to have a short intermission between our speakers, and if you can come and check out I'll have some quilt raffle tickets up there from the Friends of the Library. They really appreciate the support. They're also having a pancake breakfast fundraiser on the 12th, Sunday the 12th of this month, excuse me, and that'll be at the Turtle Lake School. And so what I'll do is I'll just take a couple of minutes, I'll go over the format tonight. We have our first two speakers are Romaine Quinn and Stephen Smith. And again, we're glad that they could make it. We're going to give them 6-minute opening speeches. And then we are going to turn it over at that point to the audience so that you can have an opportunity to ask a question that might be on your mind, on your heart. And then we'll give them each 90 seconds to respond so that they have that chance to respond. Really, I look at this as a voter education forum. I just want to see people who go out to the polls, have a little better idea of who the candidates are and what they stand for. So where do they stand on those issues? And then after that, we'll have 4-minute closing speeches. And then I hope to have about 10 minutes to 8 o'clock, 10 to 8, we'll have a brief intermission. You can go stretch your legs a little bit, and then, like I said, we'll have some Friends of the Library fundraisers that you can take a look at in the other room, or you can maybe talk to one of the two candidates who just spoke. So with that, I'm going to move in to introduce our very special guest, Bob Simonson of Rice Lake. We are so pleased and grateful that he could come to our ceremony this evening. He is going to sing the national anthem for us to kick this event off. And he is a World War II veteran, and he is turning 91 at the end of this month. And so we're so glad.
Guess what? There's not a flag in the building. So please stand, and I want to review the protocol for the national anthem. Everyone stands. Civilians, put your right hand over your heart and you face the flag or the music. If you're wearing a hat, you put it over your left shoulder. Military personnel and veterans can do the hand salute. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that
All right. Well, thank everyone for being here tonight. Most of you know both Steve and I. My name is Romaine Quinn. Growing up in Rice Lake with such great people has given me a deep appreciation and connection to the place that we all call home. Some said an 18-year-old was too young and inexperienced to make a difference. Ignoring those who tried to discourage young adults from being politically active, I ran for city council. Receiving the most votes in a four-way election, I became the youngest city council member ever elected in the city of Rice Lake. Those who enjoyed business as usual soon found me to be a thorn in their side. It took the fresh perspective of an 18-year-old to question spending, to stand up to seasoned staff members, and to ask questions on issues that nobody else wanted to talk about. During my campaign for Rice Lake Mayor, my age and experience were again questioned. But the citizens of Rice Lake chose a candidate who put the people over the status quo, and I became Rice Lake's youngest mayor. While working full-time, going to college full-time, and being mayor, I dealt with balancing multi-million-dollar budgets, went toe-to-toe with the DNR, and your suspicions can be confirmed. Politicians in Madison and Washington, D.C. have no idea what goes on in the 75th District. The lack of common sense from political ideologues that currently hold office is costing the taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it should sicken the people of the 75th District. The citizens of the 75th need an effective leader to represent us in Madison. My record proves that the needs of the 75th are my #1 priority and that I get those needs met. Today we face an aging population in Wisconsin. Nearly 50% of Wisconsin residents are near or over the age of 60 years old. This can eventually cause serious problems because of the way in which we currently provide services. It is critical that we get out in front of this issue to ensure a secure retirement for our seniors. Many of our families' livelihoods depend on tourism in the Northwoods. Although tourism funding was restored under Governor Walker, we must continue to elect people who understand the importance of tourism and who will work with the governor to protect those dollars. College graduates have a very hard time staying here because few jobs are available to the young adult around here anymore. College graduates are also saddled with thousands of dollars in loans that prevent them from purchasing vehicles and homes and participating in our local economies. Many businesses in town would like to add jobs, but the current federal policies discourage job growth. As your representative, I would work with Governor Walker to create an environment that would encourage businesses to expand, hire new employees, and provide the specific training needed to fulfill those jobs. Wisconsinites cannot afford to send an ineffective representative to Madison. We need an assemblyman who can discuss educational issues because they are a product of the educational system today. Wisconsinites need a representative who knows the Wisconsin statutes that govern local control of schools, who understands how local control of schools works, and who has firsthand experience on how state and federal policy impact the classroom. I have that knowledge and experience. My experience is serving as chairman of the Parks and Recreation and Cemetery Board, chair of the Rice Lake Planning Commission, chair of the Rice Lake Board of Review, as a member of the City Council, and as mayor of Rice Lake, has defined me as a statesman, and a statesman puts people first. Politicians put their ideology first. As a public servant, I built positive working relationships within the business community, with legislators in Madison, and with congressmen. My record has proven that as your assemblyman, I will not just fill this seat to serve a political master, but I will serve the people of the 75th District and help lead us into an era of economic growth and prosperity. Your vote on Tuesday, November 4th would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
I too would like to thank the Turtle Lake Library and Adam Zenz for the opportunity to be here tonight. I'd like to thank everyone that came to hear us speak. I agree with my opponent that the most defining criteria in this year's contest for the 75th Assembly District is going to be experience. I'll look at my real life experience. I'm a husband of 42 years, father, a grandfather, a retired business owner, and a taxpayer. I'm a product of Catholic education, a graduate of St. Joseph's School. I've received their Distinguished Graduate Award, a graduate of St. John's in Collegeville, Minnesota, and I've earned an accounting degree at the University of Wisconsin-Superior. I've used my accounting degree at IDS in Minneapolis. I was in the mutual funds area and in their tax division. I handled complex tax issues, and I had to pay attention to details. I owned and operated school buses in Rice Lake for 28 years. I had to create and manage budgets. I had to deal with complex regulations, including transportation issues for federal and state. I had to meet a payroll and hire and manage employees. Customer relations and serving the public were big on what was important in the school bus business. I also had to negotiate contracts, purchase equipment, and I was 24 years as a director for the Wisconsin School Bus Association, including a stint as president, and I worked with the Wisconsin DOT and the legislature in school bus safety. Rainbow Home Center. I invested retirement savings in keeping the doors open at Rainbow Home Center. There again, managing and creating a budget, dealing with complex regulations, including firearms, federal and state regulations, meeting payrolls and accounts payable, and there again, the key to retail is customer service. Civically, I'm a trustee of our parish, and I'm on the parish council. I was a religious ed teacher for 13 years. I'm a member of the Shell Lake Lions Club. I'm a past member of the JCs, and I'm proud to have been a founding board member for the Boys and Girls Club in Barron County. Politically, I was elected twice to the Barron County Board. I served on the Rice Lake Airport Commission and the Zoning Board of Appeals. I've been in the Assembly for 21 months. I've held 24 listening sessions. I've achieved the most bipartisan voting record in this legislature this past session. I have voted for your interest more than 1,600 times. I voted to increase funding for rural schools, and I voted against eliminating people from Badger Care. I have voted to stand with local control, empowering local elected leaders. The legislature does not need to handcuff our local leaders. I have protected the pocketbooks of taxpayers here in the village of Turtle Lake. I think what was done to preserve the future of the TID district in the village of Turtle Lake is an excellent example of bipartisan cooperation as well as local and state officials working together. I voted for clean water funding for the village of Birchwood. And I worked with Dairyland Electric to avert a potential coal shortage for generating electricity this winter. I've helped people with contacting Representative Sean Duffy as well as Senators Johnson and Baldwin. What's on the to-do list? Jobs. We still are in need of family-sustaining jobs. We need fair funding for our students and our schools. We need affordable health care for every Wisconsin resident. We need more spendable cash in our pocketbooks. The real job creators are people that buy products off the store shelves. And we have to get past our have-tos to our want-tos. We're working hard to keep a roof over our heads, food on our tables, gas in our tank, and raise our children. We need money so we can buy the want-tos. And my goal for the state of Wisconsin is to become the best state to live, raise a family, work, and do business. Thank you again. I appreciate the chance to participate in this candidates forum.
All right. Thank you both. And you both were well under your time, which is going to keep us on schedule. Or maybe even better than that. That is super. Now we will enter a period where if you have a question, and what we're going to do, I'll just go over this briefly here too. If your question is directed at one of the two candidates, we're going to try to word it just so that both will have that, again, that opportunity to give a 90-second response. And obviously, it's not going to be a soundbite, hopefully. Hopefully it'll be a little bit more than that since we have the 90 seconds, but it'll be a little shorter. So we'll go ahead and open it up to any of you who might have a question or concern. Yes?
I'll start out with a question.
Okay, yeah, make sure after you've given your question, make sure that we just kind of let them have that full 90-second period. Sherry?
Okay. Regarding the mass elimination of full-time jobs in favor of part-time or perpetual temporary employments, which a lot of the employers have around here, to allow employers basically to skirt the provision of health benefits that's federally mandated, how do you intend to address this trend? I know it's rampant here in this area.
Stephen, why don't we start with you since we started with Romaine. You go ahead, and then Romaine, you make seconds. You run ahead. Okay, go ahead, Stephen.
I know that employers are fearing what they don't know. I also know that the biggest job-crushing expense an employer faces is healthcare. And I think in our society, we have to do something to disassociate healthcare with employment. I know there are lots of folks that are approaching retirement that feel locked into a job because of the benefits. I also know that most of the companies that employ people where the new jobs are created are under that 50 employee limit. So we have to let the market forces work and see where the future leads us. I know that playing politics with healthcare doesn't work for all of us.
All right, well, that's under the, you want to start over then for Romaine? Okay, go ahead, Romaine.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned an excellent example of part of the disaster that we now call Obamacare, and this is just one of the effects. As they go door to door, not only for those that do have a full-time job and that are now forced onto the exchanges. I saw one elderly lady that she was paying $300 a month, but she could hardly afford, and it jumped to $1,200 a month. Well, now she's just not paying it, and now she's just paying a penalty, and now she has no coverage. So it's a disincentive for businesses to do those things, and there's examples across the district. What we need to be doing is focusing on creating jobs, family-sustaining jobs, jobs where you can actually afford health care. You should, for years it's been known, you shouldn't have to work a county job, a municipal job, or anything with government to receive some sort of decent benefit. So it's very critical that we do use market-based reforms to find ways to encourage employers to cover that. And I know a lot of things were limited in terms of there's restrictions on health savings accounts and other means that people could use, but maybe we need to look at giving tax credits or things like that to help people pay for coverage because we know, as you mentioned, a lot of businesses are doing that to recoup some of those costs or to prevent that from going up. And we need to also make sure, for a lot of these businesses, it's about improving their bottom line. So whatever we can do with our tax structure to ensure that these businesses are profitable to keep these employees and to hopefully be able to afford to keep that coverage fund.
Just as a continuation for both of you, would you be in favor of tax credits for businesses that provide these services as opposed to tax credits for individuals? Because the vast majority of people working in these counties, they get tax returns. They don't really, a lot of them don't pay much into taxes. Everything kind of levels out because their incomes really, their median incomes aren't high enough. But would you be in favor of something like that?
So the question is, what
Instead of tax credits for individuals, are you in favor of tax credits for businesses that provide health care?
Okay, that provide the health care. Romaine, we'll start with you since we started with Stephen last time.
Sure, and I think, and that's just one solution out of many that we can do. And Rice Lake, when I was mayor, if it meant getting a business in the industrial park, I didn't care if we had to give the land away or give them a tax credit for every job they created. And that gets them in the door, and that gets them building and growing and developing in our area. So if that also would work in terms of allowing these businesses to provide health care, it's definitely something to look into. And if it is proven or we can see that it's a potential solution, I would definitely be for looking into that.
I would rather see the individual get a refundable credit. I know that a credit is no good unless you have to pay taxes. So a refundable credit would be money in your pocket regardless if you owe taxes or not, because we have to get to the point where health care is not associated with the job. It's associated with the worker. And then you can have portability and you don't feel locked into a job that isn't getting you any place. It's as you move up the ladder, you don't have to worry about, gee, do I have better health care benefits here or there? You know you have them. It's your personal responsibility, and you have them. regardless of where you live.
All right. Anything else? We can go to another topic. We don't have to stay on workers and healthcare. Anything? Yes.
For a number of years, people have talked about requiring our government to go on what they call GAAP, the generally accepted accounting practices. I'm not an accountant, so I can't even tell you precisely what that is, although I'm a businessman for 50 years. But I'd like to know your thoughts, each of you, as to whether we should or should not, what would be the benefit, what would be the disadvantage if we were to adopt that GAAP accounting code.
Stephen, we'll start with you this time.
Well, generally accepted accounting principles for government and business are not quite the same, but one of the things that would be changed with government is there's a lot of assets that are on our balance sheet. For instance, all our infrastructure improvements. So when we build a road and the money goes out of the checkbook, that's the current expense. We don't depreciate it. And when revenues come in, that's current income. Even though part of those revenues might be tied to meeting a future obligation, you're not looked at as a liability and said, okay, we have this future liability to fund Social Security, for instance. It comes in, and we'll worry about what comes in to pay Social Security in the year 25-25. We'll worry about what comes in 25-25, and all the money that comes in 2014 is current income. So it's more of a cash flow basis for government versus an accrual basis for private industry. And so we fail to recognize the current balance of future liabilities. We just don't recognize that in government.
Thank you. Romaine.
Yeah, and that's an issue. I mean, budgeting in general is such a hard issue because when you look at the city of Rice Lake, you look at the state of Wisconsin and the federal government, no matter what practice, if they're general accounting principles, there always seems to be a way for politicians to hide money, to shift money, to rob money from one fund to pay another. And so I don't know what the solution to that is. Wisconsin has a history of that, raiding one fund to pay another, or making your balance or your checkbook look better than the other. But I think it just comes back to common sense and what works or what doesn't work. We tried to change some of the way we budgeted in Rice Lake. And a lot of times we try to make our budgets look better by hopefully projecting better revenues in the future. Those things don't make sense and they don't work. So specifically in your question, I don't have an answer for that in particular. That's one I'd like to study a little more.
All right, thank you. Any others? Wasea, he looks like he's got something.
Yeah, so I was doing a little bit of research with the U.S. Department of Labor statistics here, and I was looking at employment. We're sending at as of September 2014, we're sending at 9.2 million, approximately. And that's the countrywide. And I was kind of just thinking about this, that's a smaller number than say, I should reference this subject here just to make sure it's more clear. And 2011, J.P. Morgan filed for bankruptcy, and as a result, 16 million migrant workers in China lost their job, and this was a ripple effect. However, in 6 months' time, I'm not sure, well, I do actually know, sorry, it's just really baffling, is that they managed to replace these 16 million job losses in a matter of 6 months by reorganizing them into a centrally organized government system where they had, hey, let's just put these people into construction, and we'll begin a massive urbanization project. And this has not been seen, the scale of this urbanization has not been seen since 1947 in the United States with the construction of the interstate highway system.
What's that?
So the question here was that, what is this? China is beating us at capitalism, to put it simply. They organized an unemployment force almost twice as large as our current unemployment rate throughout the country in a matter of 6 months. What are we doing wrong here?
How can we improve?
Yeah, how can we improve this?
Okay.
This is insane.
I think we'd start with Romaine, because we have a few minutes, so go ahead.
Sure. There's a lot of different ways in which we can create an environment to create jobs, because what you must really remember is that when the government employs people, the government has to take money from someone else to employ that person. And so what we need to do is be creating private sector jobs, because those jobs are what really creates wealth and what really makes our country financially better and all of us financially better. And I get a perfect example. I mean, you could improve unemployment rate tomorrow. The state of Wisconsin randomly started a project and hired, so many odd people. The thing is, where's that money going to come from? And if the federal government did that project tomorrow, they'd be borrowing it because they can't balance their checkbook even now. So I think it would be irresponsible for any form of government to be borrowing money to pay for a program to try and artificially hire people. I don't think that's going to work in the long run. Well, there's a lot of different things we can do, though, from encouraging tourism in our district includes Washburn and Barron County for the most part. Over $100 million flowed in this county from tourism. That's sustainable economics. That's job growth right there. You make the tax structure competitive to get businesses back in here to hire. So let's not force jobs or force a creation, because I think we tried to do that with the stimulus bill at the federal level as well, when they focused on trying to create public works, and I believe that failed kind of miserably, and we're still paying for that. So it's important that, again, you focus on tourism, you focus on taxes, you focus on lowering the regulation burden, and try to get businesses into this area and are stable and able to hire people again.
Stephen, would you like to address that?
Well, I think the basis of the premise of your question is comparing apples and oranges. There is no way that the Chinese have a free market economy. It's pretty much central planned. And we believe in the free market system in the United States of America. It's what's made our country great. I disagree with my opponent a little bit in that I really feel the real job creators are people that buy products. I've said that earlier tonight. And if there's no market for your product, you're not going to have a job very long. Government is there to promote civil discourse and the general welfare of the people, but and we have to have efficiencies. Let the free market establish efficiencies, and then government, the little bit of spending they should do, should be very efficient use of their funding.
All right, thank you, Stephen. Okay, I think I heard from you for Nate, and then I think we'll in some of these others. Go ahead, Nate.
Okay, I want to step on stove here, but what do y'all do about giving the grants to people the loans so that they're buying it?
Loans or grants to starting a new business?
Forgivable loans, for instance.
I'm sorry?
Forgivable loans.
Okay.
Small business
Can you repeat
loans.
the question?
So, would the candidates be in favor of forgivable loans or just grants for individuals to start businesses as a way to promote job creation and maybe address some of what Wasay was talking about? See, I think we'll start with you, Stephen, because
Well, we do have some venture funding sources. And Wisconsin has leg with our neighboring states, actually in our U.S. national economy, as far as venture funding for startup businesses. But people are not going to give money away. I just don't see how that's going to work. But the idea sounds good, but I think the devil's in the details, and making the system work. I just see problems with that.
okay, all right, thank you. And then Romaine.
Sure. You mentioned a good topic, because there are a lot of ways that the government can create an environment that's conducive for job growth. Like I mentioned in Rice Lake, the industrial park was charging $20,000 for an acre. Well, I said if it takes a business to